You ever spend 30 minutes setting up the perfect strategy, and then one stupid move ruins everything? Your MVP dies, your plan collapses, and you're staring at the screen wondering why you even play these games. In today's video, we're diving into the most brutal, brain-melting tactical RPGs out there. Games that'll test your patience, your planning, and maybe your sanity. But hey, if you love that sweet mix of pain and strategy, you're in the right place. In Rogue Trader, you're not just exploring space. You're building a legacy in a universe that wants you dead every step of the way. Set in the Coronis Expanse, a lawless, unexplored region at the edge of Imperial space, the story kicks off after you inherit a powerful trade charter from a fallen relative. This charter grants you near-absolute authority to explore, conquer, and profit beyond the reach of the Imperium's rigid control. And what makes this game special is how much power you have and how much that power can spiral out of control. You choose who lives, who dies, which planets to exploit, which alliances to form, and how far you're willing to go for glory or survival. And don't expect easy answers. You'll be constantly balancing your own ambitions with the expectations of powerful factions like the Inquisition, the Adeptus Mechanicus, and even Chaos itself. Combat in Rogue Trader is turn-based and squad-focused, and every unit has a pool of action points that can be spent freely across movement, attacks, and special abilities, allowing you to experiment with creative plays on the fly. Cover matters. Elevation can give you the edge, and line of sight plays a major role when setting up ambushes or flanking enemies. Suppression and area denial are key strategies, especially when you're outnumbered or facing enemies with warp-based powers that can disrupt your formation. And each companion brings a unique role to the battlefield, whether it's psychic abilities, heavy weaponry, or support buffs that can completely change the momentum of a fight. Outside of combat, the game turns into a deep management simulator where you'll spend a lot of time aboard your void ship, which is a massive, mobile fortress that needs constant attention. You're upgrading systems, navigating warp storms, handling crew events, and making high-stakes decisions that shape your reputation across entire star systems. You're dealing with resource shortages, uncovering lost technology, brokering fragile alliances, and putting out fires before they turn into sector-wide disasters. Conversations can impact future missions, close off certain routes, or even trigger major story shifts. Every planet you visit, every faction you deal with, and every law you choose to enforce or ignore feeds into a bigger web of political and strategic consequences. And even though Rogue Trader dives deep into the Warhammer 40K universe, you don't need to be a lore expert to follow what's going on. The game is built in a way that gradually introduces key concepts, factions, and ideologies without overwhelming you. You'll still see all the iconic elements like Space Marines, Chaos Corruption, Imperial Dogma, but through the lens of a Rogue Trader, which gives you a more flexible and morally gray perspective on the universe.
And honor its endeavor.
When people think of tactical RPGs, they imagine slow-paced battles and endless number crunching. But Marvel's Midnight Suns flips that on its head with fast, flashy fights and a surprising amount of personality. It takes the strategic backbone of games like XCOM and mixes it with superhero powers, comic book drama, and deck-building mechanics that keep things feeling fresh every round. You control a team of heroes pulled straight from the Marvel Universe. Characters like Blade, Ghost Rider, Captain Marvel, and Iron Man. But instead of just picking abilities from a skill tree, each hero uses a customizable deck of cards that define their attacks, buffs, and support skills. Every turn, you draw a random hand and make decisions based on what's available. Positioning still matters, but not in the way you'd expect. The maps are more open, and movement isn't tied to action points like in most tactical games. Instead, you get a set number of actions per turn, things like attacks, moves, and redrawn cards, and you've got to use them wisely. Environmental attacks add even more flavor. You can slam enemies into walls, throw them into explosives, or drop light poles on their heads for bonus damage without spending a card. Outside of battle, you hang out at the Abbey, your base of operations and the heart of the story. You play as the Hunter, a fully customizable hero created just for this game, and you build relationships with the rest of the squad. Training sessions, late-night chats, shared downtime actually matter, and bonding with teammates unlocks new passive abilities and upgrades, giving you a reason to care about the people you're fighting beside. The story leans into darker themes, pulling inspiration from the supernatural corners of the Marvel Universe. You're going up against Lilith, the mother of demons, and her corrupted army. But the writing doesn't get lost in melodrama. It balances serious stakes with plenty of humor, character development, and just the right amount of fan service. Seeing Wolverine and Doctor Strange argue over the proper way to prepare tea never gets old.
Your deliverance is at hand.
Tactical Breach Wizards is what happens when you throw modern-day mages into tactical shootouts and let them bend the rules of space and time like it's just part of the job. It's a turn-based tactics game where every battle feels like solving a puzzle, with explosions, psychic powers, and snarky banter. You lead a squad of disgraced magic operatives, each with their own spells, specialties, and personality quirks. And your goal is to clear rooms filled with armed enemies using brains and magical brute force. You've got a small team, limited turns, and enemies that can wreck your plan if you slip up. But the magic systems change everything. You can knock enemies out of windows, pull them behind cover, stun them before they even act, or chain abilities together to pull off ridiculous combos. But what makes Tactical Breach Wizards stand out isn't just the flashy powers or slick interface. It's how readable everything is. You know exactly what will happen before you commit. No guessing if your shot will hit or praying to the RNG gods. Each wizard brings something different to the fight. One might be a shielded tank that can push enemies across the room, another might manipulate enemy turns or trap entire groups in place. So the synergy between characters is where the game really comes alive. Tactical Breach Wizards leans heavily into dry humor and clever dialogue, making every character feel distinct without going overboard. The squad constantly throws sarcastic comments and quick one-liners during missions, but it never feels forced or distracting. Instead, it adds flavor to the gameplay and helps break up the tension during tougher encounters. Even though it's a tactical game at heart, the writing does a great job of making you care about the team, their past mistakes, and the strange, magical political mess they're trying to fix.
Know that my
Fire Emblem Engage is all about flashy battles, tight strategy, and a dose of anime flair so strong it practically glows. The story takes place in the land of Ilios, a continent once ravaged by a massive war against the Fell Dragon, a dark force that nearly destroyed everything. In a desperate move, the people of Ilios summoned powerful heroes from other worlds, known as emblems, to seal the Fell Dragon away. Now, 1,000 years later, you awaken as a divine dragon, with no memory of your past, only to discover that the seal is weakening and the threat is returning. You control a team of unique characters, each tied to a specific class like Swordmaster, Mage, or Archer. But what really sets Fire Emblem Engage apart is the Emblem Ring system. As you progress through the game, you gain access to powerful rings that contain the spirits of iconic heroes from older Fire Emblem titles. And when you equip a ring to a character, it completely changes how they perform in battle. You get stat boosts tailored to the hero's legacy, unlock signature abilities, and even activate a engaged state that temporarily merges your unit with the emblem, creating a supercharged version of the character with devastating attacks and flashy animations. You can pair a slow, tanky unit with a speedy emblem to balance them out, or link a mage with an emblem that enhances magical crits to turn them into a glass cannon. Each emblem has a limited number of turns before they need to recharge, so timing when to engage becomes a key part of every fight. Outside of battle, the Somnial acts as your central hub. It's where you train your characters, level up their bond with emblems, cook meals that grant buffs, and interact with allies to deepen support relationships. These bonds matter, as the stronger the connection between characters, the better they perform together on the battlefield. It affects everything from accuracy and critical chance to unlocking exclusive tag team skills that can turn the tide of a tough battle. You can also adopt animals that bring back resources, participate in mini-games to boost stats, and upgrade facilities that give you better gear or training options.
Lend me your strength. Fate has brought us here. I live to fight again.
Hey, quick pause. If you're enjoying this so far, go ahead and hit that like button and drop a comment with your favorite tactical RPG or one I should check out next. I'm always on the hunt for hidden gems, so don't hold back. Your comments actually help the algorithm notice the channel and keep it alive with fresh content every week. And yes, I check and reply to every single one. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, it costs nothing, takes one click, and won't randomly update itself while you're asleep. The last spell drops you into a world that's already lost. Cities are in ruins. Humanity is on the brink, and every night waves of mutated horrors crawl out of the mist to tear down what's left. Your only hope? A handful of desperate heroes and one final spell that might save the world. If you can survive long enough to cast it. Each day you rebuild your town, set traps, craft gear, and prepare defenses. Then night falls, and the real battle begins. Enemies flood the map in massive waves from all directions, and you control a small squad of heroes, each with their own abilities, gear loadouts, and attack patterns. And you're not just choosing classes, you're customizing builds from scratch. You can shape a long-range sniper focused on high crit chance, or develop a brawler who teleports behind enemies and cuts through groups with ease. Positioning is everything, as ranged units need clear lines of sight. Melee characters have to hold choke points, and area of effect skills become crucial when dozens of enemies crowd the screen. And the better you perform, the more resources and perks you unlock for the next wave, making every turn count in a brutal race against time. And after each successful defense, you earn materials, gold, and perks that feed directly into your long-term survival. Heroes level up and gain access to a wide range of randomized stat boosts and perk trees, letting you shape their playstyle with real precision. You can focus on raw damage, mobility, defense, or support depending on what your squad needs. Gear plays a huge role too. Every weapon type changes how a hero performs in combat. A magic wand might offer multi-tile attacks and mana-based skills, while a crossbow could unlock ricochet shots or poison effects. On top of that, the town itself evolves. You can upgrade production buildings, unlock passive bonuses, and invest in structures that generate resources or boost defenses. Front Mission First Remake brings back one of the most iconic tactical RPGs from the 90s, now with modern visuals and quality of life upgrades that make it easier to play without losing its hardcore soul. Set in a future where nations fight proxy wars using giant mechs called Wanzers, the game throws you into a gritty conflict full of betrayal, politics, and personal revenge. It's fully turn-based and grid-based, but what adds tension is the way damage is split between a mech's body, arms, and legs. If an arm gets destroyed, you lose access to that weapon. If the legs go down, movement becomes limited. But lose the body and that mech is gone. There's also a strong emphasis on counterattacks, so you need to know when to strike and when to play it safe. But you're not just picking a class or loadout. Each Wanzer is made up of multiple interchangeable parts, like body, arms, legs, backpack, and every piece affects your stats, movement, weapon capacity, and even accuracy. You can equip different types of weapons on each arm, mix melee and range setups, or stack armor for extra durability. Weight plays a huge role too. Heavier builds offer more protection and firepower, but reduce movement range and evasion, while lighter setups allow faster repositioning, but can't take much punishment. You also need to consider internal systems like power units and computers, which impact your action economy and targeting precision. There's a constant trade-off between what looks strong on paper and what actually works in battle. And since parts can be damaged or destroyed mid-fight, building redundancy into your mech design can be the difference between survival and total collapse. Pilots aren't just nameless operators either. They grow with each battle and bring unique traits to the table. As they gain experience, they unlock new abilities that directly impact how their Wanzers perform in combat. The remake doesn't mess with what made the original special, but it smooths out the rough edges. Menace are more intuitive, animations are cleaner, and combat flows better. There's also an optional modern mode that speeds up pacing without sacrificing depth, which is perfect for newcomers.
To join his brothers in the halls of Valhalla, you must take his place.
Expeditions Viking puts you in charge of an entire clan in the middle of political chaos, war, and survival. You're building alliances, leading raids, and trying to keep your people alive in a world that doesn't care if you make it to the next day. The game kicks off with you inheriting leadership after your father's death, and every choice you make defines what kind of leader you become. Are you a ruthless warlord who crushes enemies with fear? Or someone who plays the political game, forging deals and keeping the peace? Every decision impacts your clan's morale, the loyalty of your companions, and how the world reacts to you. Combat is fully turn-based and plays out on grid-based maps where each character has a set number of action points per turn that you can use to move, attack, or activate special skills. Flanking enemies increases your damage, while terrain and elevation can give you tactical advantages, or leave you completely exposed. Shields actually block attacks from the front, forcing you to think about angles instead of just stats. You've also got injuries that carry over after battle, so charging in recklessly just because you're winning can leave your squad limping into the next fight. There's no random chance to hit either, which makes the whole thing feel more fair and focused on strategy over luck. Outside of combat, you'll set up camp to rest your party, heal wounds, craft gear, and assign roles like hunting, guarding, or repairing equipment. Every person in your crew brings different strengths, and using them well can make a huge difference between thriving and barely scraping by. Food and medicine aren't infinite, and if you ignore your supplies or overwork your team, morale starts to tank fast. As you travel, you'll need to plan your routes carefully. Hostile territory, bad weather, or lack of resources can all wear your team down before you even reach your next objective. The game also tracks weight limits for your caravan, so grabbing every shiny piece of loot isn't always smart. You sail to foreign shores, meet rival factions, and take on quests that rarely have a clean solution. You might solve a conflict with words or let your axe do the talking. Either way, actions have consequences. Characters remember your choices, and entire storylines shift depending on how you handle situations. Brigandine: The Legend of Runersia is a tactical RPG that doesn't waste time pretending to be easy. Right from the start, it throws you into a massive war between 6 nations, each with its own ideology, strengths, and reasons to fight. You pick one of these factions and take full control, managing resources, training units, expanding your territory, and leading armies into grid-based battles where one bad call can cost you a key stronghold. The core gameplay is about conquest. You move your knights and their summoned monsters across a huge map, capturing bases and defending your borders in a turn-based system. Each knight brings their own squad of beasts like dragons, golems, unicorns, and leveling them up is essential. These monsters have their own stats, skills, elemental affinities, and growth curves. Some are great tanks soaking up damage, while others specialize in healing, ranged attacks, or elemental magic that can devastate enemy formations if used at the right time. But what sets the game apart is how deep the strategy goes. Every move on the map is a gamble, and knowing where to send your forces and when to commit to a battle is key. You need to form balanced teams that complement each other. Throwing a powerful monster into battle without support is a quick way to lose it. Pairing a high-mobility knight with fast, evasive creatures can help you scout and harass enemy lines, while slower, tougher teams can hold territory and wear down opponents over time. And choosing the right commanders matters just as much. Some knights excel at leading magical units, boosting their spell power or defense, while others are better suited for brute force squads that rely on raw damage. Each faction also has its own storyline, so choosing a different kingdom gives you a whole new perspective and narrative. Some focus on divine prophecy, others on revenge or ambition, but all of them build a larger picture of the world and its political tension. That gives the game a ton of replay value, especially when paired with its multiple difficulty levels and branching outcomes. Shadowrun Hong Kong throws you into a gritty cyberpunk world where magic and technology collide in the most chaotic way possible. You're dropped into the heart of the Hong Kong underworld, surrounded by gangs, megacorporations, spirits, and conspiracies that go way deeper than you expect. The combat sticks to classic turn-based tactics, but what makes it shine is how much freedom you have in building your crew. You've got classes like Street Samurai, Deckers, Shamans, and Riggers, each with their own unique role on the battlefield. You can spec into hacking to take control of enemy drones, dive into the Matrix mid-mission to disable alarms and traps, or use summoning magic to call in powerful spirits that can shift the tide of a fight. And yeah, you can go full shotgun blasting tank too if that's your style. Every character has access to skill trees broken into core attributes like strength, intelligence, charisma, and quickness. These open up different combat abilities and dialogue options depending on how you build them. For example, pumping charisma doesn't just unlock better speech checks, it changes how entire missions unfold, especially when dealing with gangs or corporate suits. What's cool is that you're not locked into rigid classes. You can blend abilities, creating a hybrid build that fits your playstyle. The same goes for your gear. You'll find new weapons, armor, and cyberware as you progress, and they can drastically change your approach in battle, especially when you start slotting cybernetic implants that boost your reflexes or let you shrug off damage like a tank. But this isn't just a game about strategy. The story is tight, full of twists, and driven by choices that actually impact how things play out. Dialogues are deep, reactive, and packed with consequences. And one wrong move in a conversation can make allies walk away or turn entire factions against you. If you're into tactical RPGs and giant mechs, SD Gundam G Generation Crossrays is an absolute must-play. It blends deep strategy with fan-favorite moments from across the Gundam universe, pulling in storylines and characters from series like Wing and Seed. But don't let the chibi-style visuals fool you. This game is packed with customization, complexity, and combat that demands attention. You control squads of mobile suits and pilots in grid-based, turn-based battles where every action counts. There's no randomness in hit chances. If you're in range, you hit. That makes positioning absolutely crucial, not just for landing attacks, but for avoiding brutal counterstrikes. Each mobile suit comes with its own range, energy cost, and signature moves, so knowing how and when to use them is way more important than just looking at raw stats. Some units can trigger support attacks from nearby allies, letting you stack damage or protect weaker teammates depending on your formation. But don't get careless. Enemies come with their own tricks, including long-range shots and nasty counter abilities that can punish aggressive plays. Energy management also plays a huge role. Burn through your strongest attacks too early, and your best units might be left wide open when you need them most. And while you're making all these decisions, you're treated to some seriously slick animations that bring classic Gundam attacks to life in full over-the-top detail. Outside of battle, you're constantly diving into menus to research new tech, develop mobile suits, and upgrade every inch of your squad. The development tree is massive, letting you evolve even the weakest grunt suit into a powerhouse Gundam over time. Every unit you use in battle gains experience, unlocking new suits as you level them up and hit specific conditions. You can also swap pilots, train their skills, and equip them with custom gear that boosts stats or unlocks new abilities. The team-building aspect is just as deep. You're free to mix and match characters from completely different series, creating dream squads that would never exist in canon. Guys, this is already part 4 of the series, and a few of the games featured here made it in thanks to your awesome recommendations. So I'm leaving the other 3 videos on screen along with the full playlist. Go check them out if you haven't yet. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button because we've still got plenty more coming for this series. Oh, and leaving a comment on each video helps your buddy Sage afford more games.